This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
Will American consumers bear the cost of these tariffs?
I don't believe that American consumers will see any meaningful increase in the prices.
They decided that Planned Parenthood was unqualified for many reasons, chiefly because they're the nation's largest abortion provider.
I certainly believe in spiritual warfare.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. It's tariff time. President Trump is speaking in the Rose Garden right now at the White House. Let's listen in.
This is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steel workers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen, they really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen. In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that. This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. With today's action, we are finally going to be able to make America great again, greater than ever before.
That's President Donald Trump speaking live in the Rose Garden at the White House on tariffs. His announcement has created uncertainty. CBS's Jason Allen is in Laredo, Texas, where companies have been rushing to truck goods across the border.
These lots are absolutely packed, and that is because for the last several days, companies have been crossing. That's the word I heard from one broker. Get your things here as quickly as you can. Try to do it before any of these new tariffs go into effect.
Auto sales have been brisk, too.
We have seen that surge. People are concerned about the tariffs. The vehicles we have on the lot right now are tariff-free because they're here on the property.
An ironic advocate in the debate, former Biden Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, said there's no need to run to buy a car.
Will American consumers bear the cost of these tariffs?
I don't believe that American consumers will see any meaningful increase in the prices that they face.
A few blocks over at the U.S. Supreme Court, it was a huge day in the battle for religious freedom. Planned Parenthood versus the state of South Carolina. Both sides gave oral arguments today. At issue, do states have the right to cut off their Medicaid funding because they provide abortions? Justice Sonia Sotomayor got feisty with Christian legal firm Alliance Defending Freedom, protecting South Carolina against the abortion giant.
Is not clear rights creating language for 4 reasons.
I don't want 4 reasons. I want you to answer my question.
ADF senior legal counsel John Bursch told her states should be able to create a list of clinics that will use Medicaid money for actual health care, not liberal activism.
It's like when I go to Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I don't get to pick any doctor that I want. If I want to go to Johns Hopkins, I can't request a doctor unless they're on the list. The state decides who the providers are who are qualified, and you get to choose among them. And they decided that Planned Parenthood was unqualified for many reasons, chiefly because they're the nation's largest abortion provider.
After oral arguments concluded, Bursch spoke to the press outside.
Planned Parenthood's own leaders say they have repeatedly prioritized the political fight for abortion over supporting their affiliates that are supposed to be providing care for women. Planned Parenthood's leadership has openly prioritized abortion activism over maintaining its facilities and offering essential health care for low-income patients.
The New York Sun reads today, quote, "The blow that brings them down. This case could decimate Planned Parenthood." Elon Musk's era may be coming to a close. Politico reports President Trump has told his inner circle Musk will soon step back from his government role. He's led efforts to cut spending and jobs. This after Musk wrote 2 big checks to voters in Wisconsin for the state Supreme Court election Tuesday. Political analyst Larry Sabato says Musk may be causing more harm than help to the GOP.
You don't go into a clean government state like Wisconsin and appear to buy the vote, handing out $1 million checks to people who have signed his petition.
Amazon has put in a bid to buy TikTok. There's a Saturday deadline for an ownership change for the Chinese company, or it could face a possible ban in the United States.
There's still so many questions about whether the Chinese company would want to sell, what would happen with that all-important algorithm, and what happens with U.S. customer data.
In Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced an escalation in the war in Gaza. Israel now says it will seize large areas of Gaza to be used as security zones. 30 million people are under flood alerts this afternoon. Fox meteorologist Adam Klotz.
We could see a big tornado outbreak before the day is over, getting into the Memphis area around 7 or 8 p.m., where we could be seeing some big long-range tornadoes, EF3 tornadoes, and then for the days that follow, maybe flooding across this region. So today could be one of the more severe weather days we've seen in quite some time.
The harshest weather reserved for Tennessee, but wind advisories have also been posted across New York and a severe thunderstorm watch for parts of western Pennsylvania. And White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has impressed people by staying cool under fire despite being the youngest person to ever hold the position. The 27-year-old tells CBN her team prays just before she faces the cameras before every White House briefing.
I certainly believe in spiritual warfare, and I think I saw it firsthand, especially throughout the campaign trail with President Trump. And I think there certainly were evil forces.
Leavitt credits a faith-based education and playing competitive softball for helping to prepare her for her high-pressure role. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, are the tariffs going to affect the price you pay for car repairs? A rally to save prisons in Pennsylvania, and New York letting criminals out of prison early. We'll tell you why after weather.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast for tonight into tomorrow. Cloudy with showers, a thunderstorm for some, and a stiff breeze. Temperatures rising overnight tonight, reaching highs tomorrow in the 60s, the near 70s. Rains will taper in the afternoon. Some of us will catch a few breaks of sun. Friday, mostly sunny, cooler in New York. Clouds lingering a little more stubbornly in Pennsylvania. High temperatures Friday, mostly in the 50s.
All right, Kevin, thank you. Checking the stories, making news where you live in New York and Pennsylvania. Local auto shops, dealers, and consumers are bracing for price hikes due to new tariffs that kick in today. Brad McAreevy is president of the Rochester Automobile Association.
General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, Stellantis, all the manufacturers that are domestic, they make cars in Mexico, they make cars in Canada, they buy parts from all kinds of foreign sources. So all of those are subject to the tariff.
Dan Schrader with Schrader's Garage in the Rochester region says customers need to brace for higher prices for car repairs.
No one ever woke up in the morning and said, gee, today feels like a great day to spend a lot of money on your car. So we're sensitive to that, and we just ask, please be patient for the things that are outside of our control.
Local Uber driver Doug McCartney tells Wham News he plans to get work done on his car now before the tariffs affect prices.
Yeah, actually get new brakes next week. Things that I know I'm going to need because they're going to go way high. So it might even buy extra rotors and pads and calipers ahead of time.
From cars to prisons, there was a rally in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania today against closing some of Pennsylvania's correctional facilities in Clearfield and Center counties. Democrats and Republicans taking to the stage together.
Today we send a message that the decision to close these facilities is short-sighted and ill-conceived.
What more could you have than former inmates and their families coming forward to demand that these institutions not shut down if you want to talk about the effectiveness and the rehabilitation measures that are done at these institutions.
The state says it could save taxpayers $100 million by shutting them down. New York is letting go inmates in understaffed prisons if they're within 4 months of their release date and have a place to stay. Democrats are applauding the move.
I think that's a wonderful thing, and I really applaud that decision.
This is an embarrassment to New York State that people are dying in our correctional facilities, and we need to solve the problem.
The early release is due to the staffing crisis caused when Governor Hochul fired 2,000 prison guards for taking part in a 22-day wildcat strike. Republican State Senator Dan Steck.
I wouldn't want to take those kinds of gambles with public safety, but here we are because we made a mistake. We shouldn't have fired 2,000 trained corrections officers that had the gall to complain about their safety.
Inmates serving time for violent crimes are not eligible for early release. The governor proposed the prison reforms to reignite budget talks around her criminal justice priorities. Senate Minority Leader Rob Ort says those priorities are out of whack.
This is a whole ecosystem, a whole infrastructure issue we have in New York, and it's not getting better.
Governor Hochul plans to close up to 5 prisons in New York over the course of the next year. Next at 5, Real Answers with Christian counselor Chris Anderson. The topic, preparation versus worrying.
Is it really possible to biblically justify, building a backyard bomb shelter and stockpiling ammunition and freeze-dried food? Where do you draw the line? It's a little tough.
Well, it is tough, but I think there's some principles. Understanding the difference between worry and careful consideration is probably a good place to start. Worry normally has a stronger emotional component to it that is often we'll call it the primary driver in our activities, normally not restrained and often taps into our imagination. So this is definitely a tool of the enemy, and it usually intensifies our worries instead of actually addressing them. Mm-hmm. Whereas in contrast, careful and prayerful consideration is an active, mindful activity that utilizes scripture and other healthy ideas to cope with or at least resolve concerns or issues. So that gives us a good groundwork for addressing this.
You can subscribe, listen to, and share Real Answers and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org. Time next for tonight's market report brought to you by Faithward Advisors. Stocks are closing higher as Wall Street awaited the rollout of President Trump's tariffs. At the final bell, the Dow climbed 235 points to 42,225. The S&P 500 gained 37 points to 5670, and the Nasdaq rose 151 points to 17,601. Faithward Advisors is a Christian financial planning firm online at faithwardadvisors.com.
Nothing strikes fear in the hearts of Americans like an IRS audit. Hi, I'm Rob West with a Faith and Finance Minute. You might be relieved to learn that your odds of being audited this year are just 1 in 333. But you can take steps to make it even less likely. Often, carelessness with numbers can trigger an audit, so proof your return for math errors. Another red flag is failing to report income. If you receive a 1099 form, make sure to include that income on your return. Finally, if you're self-employed, be careful not to claim personal expenses as business expenses. That will always trigger an audit. Remember, Romans 13:6 says, "For because of this you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God." Get biblical answers to your financial questions in the Faith Fi community. Download Faith Fi, Faith and Finance in your app store or visit faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, turkeys and postal carriers on deck next after one last peek at weather.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast, a rather dynamic weather pattern. Low pressure will cross the region, bringing a couple of fronts through the region, and the result will be some rather fast changes in our weather, but inclement weather at times, planning some wind and rain. The call for tonight into tomorrow, cloudy with showers, a thunderstorm for some, and a stiff breeze. Temperatures rising overnight tonight from early lows, reaching highs tomorrow in the 60s to near 70. Rains will taper in the afternoon. Some of us will catch a few breaks of sun. Friday, mostly sunny, cooler in New York. Clouds lingering a little more stubbornly in Pennsylvania. High temperatures Friday, mostly in the 50s.
Thank you, Kevin. Finally at 5, some days it's just not a good day to be a postal worker. Carriers traditionally vow to deliver despite bad weather or gloom of night, but that doesn't cover wild turkeys. Here's Family Life's Mark Webster.
Like most carriers, Massachusetts Wayne Whitetail's WHDH, he'd seen it all, or he thought he had.
I've come close with dogs. I do a lot of stuff on Nantucket, so I see deer all the time.
but this is my first time with turkeys.
Viral video caught his confrontation with a turkey trio's tenacious attack.
Once I got out, they came after me, and then when I got to the step, it's like, okay, here we are. We got to get back, make a run for it.
Despite running afoul of the trio, he escaped them okay, but not his coworkers.
All day long, it's been gobble gobble texts and turkey texts, and I can't imagine what Thanksgiving is going to be like this year.
Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Once it came out, it came after me. Leave an extra cookie outside for your postal carrier tomorrow. And that's the world that we live in for Wednesday, the 2nd of April. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.